Yo, what is going on, guys? Godrekton here, and today I just want to make a video in regards to a strong snowballing playstyle right now that I believe is absolutely OP. In fact, it's so OP, it could potentially be nerfed really soon. But as it stands, I think it's still under the radar, and it's pretty new hot tech right now, which I think as Renekton players is that we should all abuse. So, what is this strategy, you might ask? The strategy itself is actually abusing Feats of Strength. And what are we abusing exactly with this? It is the Ionian Boots upgrade Crimson Lucidity. So if you're unaware about what these boots actually do and why they're so broken for Renekton, let me talk to you in regards about the stats. These boots literally give you 25 haste, 50 moon speed, 10 summoner spell haste, and more importantly, 10% bonus moon speed for 4 seconds. Now this comes after damaging an enemy champion, receiving healing, shields, or buffing an ally, and lastly, using a summoner spell. So all this tied together for a 500 gold upgrade is actually really crazy. Now what it actually also does is that it completely power stats your mid game by giving you more accessibility towards enemy champions, while receiving more haste, provides you more damage and utility within the game, which is a very important condition that Renekton needs in order to close out games. So while in theory and explaining this, you can already imagine that it might sound pretty broken, but how does it actually feel within games? This feels absolutely nuts, as you can imagine. The amount of fights I've had where I just feel like a completely different champion is absolutely crazy. And that's just for the reason I have high cooldown reduction with Eclipse, Cleaver, and the boots itself. And the fact that moon speed stacking or bonuses also attribute to having this ungodly power, it just makes Renekton feel super broken in being able to close games a lot easier and just overall having more playability in being able to win games easier. But this is just the tip of the iceberg because there's actually a lot more going on with these boots than we actually realize. Here's another few pros and considerations I feel that also make these boots absolutely broken. Firstly, let's factor in its gold cost. These boots are 900 gold or 600 gold after buying tier 1 boots. These boots are very cheap for the price in comparison to everything else, and it's a very effective power spike towards your general gameplay. Having the additional haste from the boots, as well as having the additional 15 haste for winning feats of strength and upgrading them, is also just an insane power spike. And let's remember that an item like Black Cleaver, which is renowned as an AD casting item with its haste, actually has less haste than these upgraded boots, which is 1,400 gold. That is 1,600 gold actually cheaper to completely break your kit as Renekton. So in theory, just being able to get these boots on top of a Black Cleaver as well, which all kind of renown these additional haste stats, which can give you up towards 60 haste alone from Eclipse, CDR boots, and Cleaver, is absolutely nuts. On top of the fact that you might also want to take haste in your runes as well, which can also amplify the fact that you're going to get more abilities up more often, which gives you, again, more playability, more combos, more dashes, stuns. It's absolutely unreal. It's absolutely unreal for Renekton. Another factor to also mention as well is that these boots also lower your summoner spell cooldowns, which in theory means you will have 272 second flashes and TP cooldowns, which originally starts from 300 seconds. That's also not to mention that your ignite is also lowered from 180 seconds towards 163 seconds with the CDR boots. This is actually huge in general because Renekton does become a very flash reliant champion in which he needs to wait for his flash to make a play happen. So any way that we can lower our flash cooldown is going to enhance our ability in being able to reach people and also be able to close our games easier. Which, by the way, isn't even the lowest you can get for your summoners. In fact, if you take Cosmic Insight, you're actually lowering your flash and TP cooldown from 300 seconds to 234 seconds. And your ignite cooldown from 180 seconds to 140 seconds. That's practically insane for how vital of a strength this is for Renekton. Because if you're able to eliminate carries on a full AD build, or even just be able to have that extra reinsurance in the fact that you can have more ways to escape bad situations or being able to play more situations in a different way, it's absolutely strong for Renekton. On top of the fact that nowadays the game is also very objective heavy, which means the more times that we have our summoners up, the more plays we can have and the more likelihood we have of actually winning these scenarios. And lastly, another factor I do also want to mention with these boots is the fact that Renekton already loves haste builds. Usually taking the haste rune combined with Eclipse and Cleaver for your first 2 items provides you with 5 second cooldowns across your abilities. That is of course if you're going 3 points Q into your W max. Now you might also question, what about your E cooldown? This will actually be around 10 seconds before you start fully maxing it. However, once you do actually max your E ability on top of having the boots as well, all your cooldowns will go as low as 3 seconds towards 5 seconds. That's also on top of the fact that I'm not fully building CDR items. I'm only having my Cleaver Eclipse, CDR boots, and also my Haste rune. So overall, having all these factors into consideration, I can practically have all my abilities up within the whole fight. After every combo rotation, I'm going to have another rotation right after. I'll also have more power and more ways to build up Fury quicker, which means I'll have more damage and more ways of also being able to carry a fight or being able to adapt to the fight to land more Qs or even like armor shreds if I need to have that. So all in all, absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts gameplay for Renekton. Renekton really thrives off the fact that if he has more ways to be present in a fight, if he's able to consistently touch people, reach them with his stun, his ease, being able to be less kiteable, this is where Renekton really feels at his strongest, and why I'm so highly invested on teaching you guys today about why these boots are so broken for him. With all that said, there's a lot of reasons then on why you should actually be taking these boots, but what actually happens if you lose Feats of Strength, and you're unable to abuse Crimson Lucidity's Power Spike? That's where the strategy really comes into play here, because ideally, you never want to give up Feats, so any chance you have to kill your laner, minimize on deaths early to avoid the first 3 kills towards the enemy team, being able to roam to objectives or take towers, it's all very much important in being able to do that if you want to receive Feats of Strength. But in the scenario where it has not been decided yet, you should never actually upgrade your tier 1 boots. Now, the main reason for this is that because if we did upgrade our boots early, we would then find ourselves that if we did somehow lose Feats of Strength under the fact that maybe our team misplayed, perhaps we misplayed, then by that nature and by purchasing these boots early, we've left ourselves in a really awkward spot because the CDR boots aren't really getting that much more value compared to when it's actually upgraded. So what you actually do to counteract this, or at least do in this scenario, is essentially just buying tier 1 boots first on your first few backs or something like that. And then by the time that you've actually acquired Feats of Strength, that is when you can decide to actually buy the boots. And then following on from that, you can then purchase a 500 gold upgrade from completing your second item. So this strategy is actually really flexible and really adaptable, because not only is it also a good plan in being able to help us with snowballing, but even in the fact that if the game is going south and perhaps we need to go another boot and maybe there's a certain champion or thing that is happening in the game consistently that we need to counter, then we do have the option of being able to buy Mercury Treads or even Plated Steel Caps. So following on from this too, I do also want to say that even if we did win Feats of Strength directly, while we still could go CDR boots, potentially in some games, it still might not be enough just to be able to sit on these boots. Maybe we still need to buy the Plated Steel Caps into a majority marksman or on-hit comp, or AD comp if you will. Perhaps that the enemy has a lot of stuns, magic damage, which is where obviously we'd buy Mercury Treads. So the point I'm trying to make is that while these are a great snowballing option, I don't also want you to just give your gameplay completely if the enemy has, you know, a CC comp that can literally stun you for 10 seconds. Because quite honestly, that CDR is not going to do anything if you're stunned for that long. And the best thing that you can do is at least tank for your team and just being able to find a way to break out the CC faster. So practically, just to sum up this little part of the video, ideally, buy your tier 1 boots. Do not upgrade them until feats have been decided. If your team is winning and you are clearly fed enough and strong enough to where you believe you can snowball your lead a lot more effectively, buy the CDR boots. However, if your team is losing and perhaps that you're also in a very difficult matchup or a difficult scenario where you need to still situationally play for the game, then buy obviously the defensive options for boots, because that will also enhance your win rate. And any way that you're able to adapt to the game and also play the most optimal way in being able to do the most that you can as a bruiser, as a champion like Renekton, that is what is going to net you the win. So furthermore, that is practically it when it comes to the whole strategy of things when it comes to boots. Now, in this part of the video, I do want to quickly share some builds with you on what I'm currently playing for Renekton and how I'm also playing with these boots, just to give you guys a little insight into the whole idea of itemization and also the fact of what runes I'm taking. Now, if you guys do want to see more when it comes to runes and items, I did just make a build guide if you want to check that out. I highly recommend it. And in that video specifically, I never really talked about boots, so this obviously is a little bit different from that video, but if you do want to get the full scoop on what I'm playing on Renekton, I highly recommend checking this video out. But with that said, these are currently my runes on the screen, so obviously the only major difference we have here is that majority of the time I'm actually playing Conqueror, because I think Conqueror does work a lot well in the fact that you're playing more of this AD casting ability. You're not really playing for one-shots necessarily. I like to keep the fights going long. I like to have more rotations up. That's not to say PTA doesn't work with this. You can go PTA, but for me, I feel like Conqueror feels the best for me when I'm going this high haste playstyle. And following on from that too, I am also taking the haste rune because I'm also stacking on that haste on my basic abilities. And just to clarify too, this rune does not work on your ult. So I just want to say that really quickly. It will only work on your Q, W, and E. The secondary runes, obviously here, I will also go Inspiration if the matchup warrants itself. If I feel like I'm in a very strong composition or perhaps I'm a very strong-sided matchup, that is where I'm able to take the Inspiration tree, which lets me get Cosmic Insight and potentially Triple Tonic, which then can also harbor me into going a WMAX playstyle into very close range compositions or matchups where I need to self-peel a lot more away from enemies such as Trendemir, Set, basically that essentially. Now, while if I am in a poke matchup or something that can attack me consistently, perhaps maybe make my early game a lot weaker, then I will opt in to go on Resolve Tree second with Second Wind, and then I may take Demolish if I want to get extra plates and extra gold to funnel into my items a lot quicker. Or maybe I also go Overgrowth if I want that extra health through the mid to late game. Now that we've talked about runes though, let's talk about items real quickly. Very simple. I'm not really doing anything too differently than I'm not doing for a Bruiser playstyle like I'm playing here. So Eclipse First is obviously the item of choice here into majority of my matchups. However, if I'm against a tank matchup, I would probably go Black Cleaver just for the fact that the stats are super effective into them. And the fact I'm getting a lot of haste too, more abilities. This is essentially why I like it so much into tanks. But vice versa too, onto my second item. I will build the item I haven't built already. So if I Cleaver first, I will go Eclipse if I feel like I can get those better trades off and I want more burst damage into squishies or tanks. However, if that's not available to me and I feel like I'm a lot weaker at that point in the game, I will actually go Steric's Gauge here, which helps me with team fighting, and it also helps me be able to peel or even dive the enemies a lot easier. Now, when it comes to third items, this is where I'd probably squeeze in the boots if I am in a winning situation, of course. So if I have tier 1 boots after Eclipse and Cleaver, I will then go into my CDR boots into Steric's. That is where the build feels at its most strongest and where you're going to be really feeling that giant power spike for your mid to late game. On top of that, for this other build as well, for Cleaver and Steric's, I will then also go CDR boots if I feel like I can abuse it. But most often, if I am playing this playstyle, I might have already conceded that I'm playing in more of a game where I'm going to be a little bit more weak-sided. Perhaps I'm a little bit more weaker in what I'm able to do for the game. So my whole objective is for playing around my team and also being a utility bot in my stuns and my empowered E's. That is practically what I'm going to be doing, so I'll end up going defensive boots to help me become more of a meat shield and also help me adapt to that type of game. So with all that being said, that is practically it when it comes to the builds on Renekton, and I do want to ask you guys a question, and my question is, what builds could you play with these boots? I know full AD could be very good, and I'm probably going to experiment with that a lot myself. But I am curious in the comment section below, what builds are you guys going to be playing with these boots? And what do you think is the best playstyle overall that you can play on Renekton? So whatever it is, please leave in the comments below because I'm very curious to hear. So guys, that is practically it from this entire video. I know it's been a little bit longer than I thought it might be, but I did just want to share the word of this playstyle towards you guys because I think that a lot of people right now are struggling in being able to end out games, and because that is also a factor, I feel like people just aren't maybe doing the right builds, or perhaps they don't really have the right perspective on how to be playing Renekton. But I feel like this Feats of Strength playstyle, where you are playing for objectives and you are playing for a stat which can literally change your gameplay and being able to give you more flashes, more ignites, and just more playability into having more CDR and stuff like that. I think it is very heavily beneficial towards Renekton, and it also follows in the whole philosophy of playing Renekton, which is your whole idea is to be a tyrant. You want to dominate the game starting at minute 1, and you want to be ending the game always destroying the Nexus. Now, the way you do that obviously comes into how you play. It is how you obtain every objective, obtain your leads, gain your kills. Any way you can garner such a gigantic lead to give you a net higher probability in being able to win, that is what you're playing for, Renekton, and that is what I'm trying to teach you guys here too. If this can help you climb, if this can help you feel more at life with Renekton, or if you can at least feel more fun in playing the champion, that is what I really want to bring to you guys here, because for me, this build and playstyle has really made me enjoy a lot of Renekton again. He really does feel like a different champion. It does give me a different and brighter perspective in what I should also be doing as a player. So myself, I really enjoy this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you also will enjoy this playstyle. And with all that being said, thank you guys for watching this video today. If you enjoyed it and if you learned something new, make sure to leave in the comments below, and make sure to also like the video and also subscribe for the next videos, because I do want to be making more guide style videos. And if that's what you guys are into here and watching my channel, I'm going to keep trying to deliver that, because I want to be providing the best Renekton content that I possibly can. Furthermore though, guys, that is it from the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out, and good luck in your games.